my friends. Good evening. How are you? Hey, Sean. Angler Quest owner Sean. To be followed by this guy right here, brand new Angler Quest owner, Craig Plowman. Congrats on that, Craig. How cool is that? You fish with me a couple times, decide you got to have a boat, and you get an Angler Quest. Congrats, you guys. You and Michelle and everybody else who goes out in that boat are going to absolutely love it. I'm so happy for you. Who else is along with us tonight? John's with us. John, I'll be seeing you in just a few weeks down in Ohio. Cliff, a regular viewer along with us. Randy, another regular. We appreciate it. Davina, how are you this evening? Jim, nice to have you along with us. Speaking of Angler Quest, Gene makes Angler Quests. Ed, can you still not get on Facebook? Are you still banned on Facebook for some reason? John, good evening. How are you? Barry. Johnny Bowler has been taking bear out of the Seney area left and right, and as we speak, he has bear eating on 3 different baits as he turns on his live. Save one for me next year, Johnny. Hello, Tommy. Captain Jim, how are you? Danny, nice to have you along with... And there's Michelle right there. Congrats on your new Angler Quest, Michelle. What a beautiful rig. You're going to love that. Good evening, Jess. Jeff, how are you? Gene is the head helm maker. Hello, Mark. How are you? Travis, thanks for joining us. David, along with us tonight. Kevin, you're still banned on Facebook. You must have done something really bad. Well, we know you did something really bad, but you must have done something really bad to get banned on Facebook. Jim, how are things in Tennessee this evening? My name is Mike Avery. This is Wednesday Night Live. It's something I do every Wednesday night on most of my social media outlets. Hello, David. Hey, Jim, I got a question for you. Jim, do you have a brother or a cousin or a relative who is a Lutheran pastor? Because one of our local Lutheran churches nearby has a new pastor from Traverse City, last name Gauthier. And I thought of you immediately. Is that person related? Johnny, I kind of did, but I didn't, and I kind of forgot, and I apologize. I will check it out. Travis shot a... Never mind. We texted back and forth already. Travis shot a 319-pounder on Friday. That's a big bear. Congrats, Travis. Uncle Johnny, how are you this evening? Are the little ones with you? Hey, Tony, how are you? Not that you know of, Jim. Okay. Hey, Tony, I ran into a friend of yours at Jay's Sporting Goods on Friday. Not one of your crow hunting buddies, but one of your skinny water buddies. And he said to tell you hi. And I can't remember who it was. Patey and Rai, Aunt Nisi has a little surprise for you guys. Jad says his son shot his first deer at 7 years old. How cool is that? Mitchell, good evening. Hey, Brent, how you doing, buddy? Randy. So you must have talked to Randy. Where'd you go? You must have talked to Randy. Hey, Tony? Johnny said Travis hunted on his own and got his first bear with me. I'm very proud of him. What do you mean hunted on his own? Is there that option? Can I just have you run baits for me and then you don't bother me? Is that an option, Johnny? Jim says it's nice in Tennessee. Finally. Low 80s today, no humidity. Patrick's headed to the UP tomorrow. Remind me, Patrick, is that for a bear hunt? Ricky, good evening. How are you? Thanks for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. My name is Mike Avery. You are watching me either on my Facebook page, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, now known as X. Bill says, great job on the pictures of the kids deer hunting. Love your kids get involved in the outdoors. Amen to that, brother. Jerry, good evening. How are you? Dakota, how are you doing this evening? Nice to have you along with us. Cool name, Dakota. That's a really cool name, Dakota. Your mom and dad did well. So what is on my list for tonight? Oh, Martin's in the bear stand right now. Travis said, well, he did show you the way. Are you sure you're talking Johnny Bowler or are you talking Peter Frampton? Think about that for a minute. And if you're old enough, you might get it. Gene, where are you going already? Got some stuff to do for his daughters. Like listening to you. I appreciate that. What was the price to have my bow tuned up? Good evening, Ross. How you doing, buddy? Getting the cabin ready. Speaking of my bow, what was the price to have it tuned up? And I didn't really have it tuned up. Here's what I did. I just happened to have this with me. I had these things right here replaced. I had these cables replaced, and I had the string replaced. So you got cables here and here, cables here and here, and you got a string here. It was like $140. Maybe not that much, maybe like 130. It was not cheap. I'm going to talk more about this, but if you have one of these modern high-tech, sophisticated crossbows, you got to keep an eye on these things, your strings and your cables. And the average shooter is going to have them replaced probably once a year. I had to get mine replaced after 5 months. I bought that bow in April. And now in September, I had to pay over $140 to get the string and cables replaced. But it's something you got to keep an eye on. Hey, Mike, how you doing, buddy? I got one yesterday morning. Met you a few years ago at Birch Run Expo. Cool that you remember all of us. I tried, Dakota. Ross, Dan will shoot tomorrow. So let's bet $10. Ross, Dan will shoot tomorrow. Good afternoon, Ruben. How are things in Colorado? So I was up at Jay's last Friday for their anniversary sale. I went up there to meet Bob Ransom of Primal Tree Stands. By the way, while I was there, I bought a Primal Mac Daddy 22-foot tree stand. I got a good price on it, but I bought it. To be honest with you, I could probably get one for free, but I went to Jay's and I bought it. While I was there, I dropped off my bow, my crossbow, because the guys had been telling me, make sure that you get those things checked. Now, like I said, I've had it 5 months. I've probably shot it 200 times. I was somewhat surprised that it was already ready. Rabbit, I'm seconding thumbs up. Eric, good evening. How are you? Eric got his Michigan Bear. Did I post a picture yet, Eric? If not, please send me a picture. I will do that. Bill says a small price to pay for safety. Oh, I agree. Small price to pay for safety. Now, here's my comparison, though. I love Darton crossbows. And if Darton made a crossbow that you could decock, I would still be shooting a Darton. They don't make one, and I wanted a bow you could decock. With my Darton crossbows, I used to run those things. I don't think I ever had a set of cables or strings replaced. Now, I usually got a new bow every year. I ran one 2 years, but I never got them replaced. Hey, Stu, how are things on the 45th parallel? Kevin, did I know that before I bought it? Yes. The guys at Jay said, be aware that with these high-tech crossbows, whether it's a Raven or a 10-point or something else, you're going to have to replace the cables and strings. They said probably every year. Well, in my case, apparently it's going to be twice a year because I shoot it so much. Ruben says in Colorado, they got their first snow up high. Jim has a very, very good point here. That's why he likes his Excalibur. He can remove the string without a bow press. And the Excalibur is a recurve crossbow. There are no wheels or pulleys or anything like that. So all you need to do is just replace the string and you're good to go. Very inexpensive. Well, easy. I don't know about inexpensive. Now, I will probably, they told me, because I have new strings on here and cable, that I'm going to need to shoot this thing again, obviously, and sight it in. Because you don't want to replace basically the guts of it and head into the woods without making sure it's dead on. So, but I welcome the opportunity to shoot it. I love shooting it. Denise is looking at buying a new crossbow. Was that Primal Outdoors? What, Davina? I was up there Friday at Jay's. I bought a Primal Outdoors Mac Daddy 22-foot stand. Yes. The bow that I just showed you is a 10-point, but I bought a Primal Outdoors Mac Daddy. I also saw the Vision 270 see-through ground blind while I was there, and that's the replacement or the newer version of the Wraith. I am going to stick with the Wraith. I like the color of the Wraith better. The Wraith is more of a brown. The Vision is more of a green. I like the brown better. Hey, Brian, how are you? Seen anything good on your trail cameras? Hey, Lori, how have you been? Haven't seen you in a long time. Jim, good evening. How are you? Hey, Matt, nice to have you along with us. I saw you were with us this morning, but I don't know if I had a chance to say hi or not. Francis, good evening. Hey, my brother Joey Baird. Joey is a great guy. He's a very interesting guy. He is he's a catfish guru. If you want to go fishing out east and get into some big fish, get in touch with Joey Baird. Rabbit Homesteading says, I recently heard a podcast where they missed an elk because the bow exploded. They are okay, but missed the elk. Always get them checked for your safety, if nothing else. Yeah. You gotta, it's more so in a crossbow, but even a compound, yeah. Matt says, I got another coyote hunt coming up soon for one of your friends. Initials? Stu says, Corey Merriman, his camp got a 401-pound bear dressed out. Corey, wow. That thing is a tank. I've never seen a bear that big. I would love to. Johnny Bowler's going to put me on a bear that big. Dave, good evening. Brian just had his cables and strings replaced. Hey, Keith, good evening. How are you? I almost said good morning because I know you were with us this morning. Joey's looking at the Raven 26 for his youngest son because of the size. I looked at the Ravens. I shot the Ravens. Just decided to go with a 10-point. They're both beautiful bows. There are a lot of good bows out there today. Joe got 3 years of use with his Wicked Ridge. Do you know how many pheasants will be released this year? I think I had, and you might be reading my mind here, Cliff. I had the pheasant on the show this week, Ken Dalton from the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative. I feel like he said 6,300, but they're all roosters. Good evening, Eric. How are things in Roscommon? I wasn't at the Woods and Water show, Lori. That's why you didn't see me there. I'm doing great, Mark. How are you? Dan checking in from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Brian says, nothing on the trail camp. The cousins on the other side of the property had a nice 8-point. Chad says, I shoot bear, crossbow, and compound. Bear bows are great bows. Hey, Blake. Blake, remember me? Right? Remember me, Mike? Remember me, Blake? You have to help take Papa to the airport tomorrow to go elk hunting. He needs help carrying his bags. So, Blake, it's me, Mike. Tomorrow, you have to go to the airport. You have to help take Papa to the airport because he needs somebody to help carry bags. And he'll be back home soon. You're a good boy, Blake. Everybody loves Blake. Blake is a good boy. Eastern UP checking in. Paul, good evening. How are you, Matt? Nick Grillo. Keith Berg says, catfish guru? I don't know, Joey. How would you describe yourself? Catfish? Striper? I mean, I think Joey's got the South Carolina state record for catfish. Hey, Rachel. Good evening. How are you? Mike leaves for bear hunting in a week. Mike Sills, Michigan outdoorsman. Good evening, Dan. How are you? Jim said he had his Parker let go on him twice. It's paperweight now, broken limbs. Yeah, you don't want that, do you? Mike, good evening. Hey, Mike, how did you do on the Liberty hunt? I see you were out there Saturday morning. Art Lewis, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the presence of true greatness, a Michigan broadcasting icon. Art Lewis of WSTW says, howdy, Mike. Went shooting with his new M&P 2.0 spec series, a reasonably good session, shot 60 rounds. I love to hear this because Art, from what I know, was never anti-gun, but Art was a non-shooter just because he hadn't really been exposed to it that much. Well, now Art has been shooting. He's an avid shooter. He's a pro gun guy. He's the type of guy we want in our corner. So I'm so glad to hear about this, Art, and thank you for. I'm so glad you joined the family. Stu says equipment check always, regardless. Gun, bow, crossbow, safety first. At that energy has to go somewhere. Hey, Brent. Dan, good evening. What's my opinion on deer damage permits? I believe that they are necessary in some cases. I believe that most farmers use them in a conscientious manner. But I hear enough stories about some farmers misusing them, and that breaks my heart. Davina says she bought a 22-foot tree stand at a yard sale. It's a PVLS 336. It's from Primal Outdoors. It had no safety straps, so I required about a replacement ones. Listen to this. Davina bought a used Primal tree stand at a yard sale. It had no safety straps, so she inquired about replacement ones, and they sent her all the safety straps and the tie-downs free. That's from Primal Outdoors. I'm so glad to hear that, Davina. And Bob Ransom will be as well. The history of Fred Bear and his life is amazing for everyone here probably to learn. I would imagine, Rabbit Homesteading, that a lot of people on here know about the history of Fred Bear. And by the way, Rabbit Homesteading, if you want to see, let me see if I can post it, a very, very cool, there we go, video. I'm going to post, share, copy, edit, paste. Do you see the link? It's posting right now. The link that I just sent, check out that YouTube video. You're more than welcome, Scott. Corey had that giant boar walk 7 steps beside us right down to the bait. My buddy Chad dropped him in his tracks. I had 2 cameras rolling and a GoPro on the bait. Amazing hunt. Getting him out of the woods, however, not so fun. Corey, do I have a picture of that? If not, would you send me one? I'd love to post it if you don't mind. That's a huge animal. Hey, Chad, how are things in Sparkle City? Kevin, seeing lots of spotted fawns on our trail cam. Should a doe with a set of spotted fawns be legal to shoot in the early season? Yes. In my opinion. Because based on what the biologists tell me, even if the fawns are spotted, if you take the doe, the fawns can still survive at this point. Scott says he can't wait to hit the woods Saturday with his bird dog. We can't forget about that. Small game season opens Friday. Rachel said, when is the next... Okay, here's a great question. Rachel asked, when is the next Wednesday Night Live in person? I don't know, Rachel. You mean me out in the field rather than here in my office? Or do you mean in person where we all get together and have a meal and maybe a beer? If it's when do we all get together, I don't know. Because Dixie Dave's restaurant is closed down and I'm no longer working with the Forward Corporation that owns the Lumberjack. I don't know when and where we would do it. See, Arch, you've got a fan right there. Mike said didn't harvest any, took video of some smaller bucks, but passed on them. Had a great time just being out there. Amen to that, brother. This has been killing me, but can you tell me what the flag or the numbers next to our name stands for? The flag. What flag? Because I don't see the same thing you see. The numbers next to our name, like right now I see numbers. I see 111, which means we have 112 viewers live for 2032 at 20 minutes and 34 seconds, and 24 people have liked this. I don't know what you mean other than that about the flag. Even remarked yard sales. Oh, that's nice. Okay, there's the link right there. Where'd it go? All right, my post right there. When we're done, if you click on that link or copy and paste that link into YouTube, it will take you to a very interesting video that I did with the man himself, Fred Bear. Bob checking in from the far end of the UP in the Bear Woods. Mike says, have you heard any issues being brought up about salmon being sold for cat food? I have. I didn't think to follow up on it on this week's show, but that's nothing new. The state has a contract, and they have for years, to harvest fish from the weirs, the excess fish. I think the thing that got people going this year was they did it earlier than normal. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate that. Hey, Kevin, good evening. How are you, buddy? Davina says, so thank you so much, Stephanie, at customer service at Primal Outdoors. The website for Primal, primaloutdoors.com, primaloutdoors.com. What is my opinion on the no baiting law? Personally, I would like to see us be able to do limited baiting of whitetails in the Lower Peninsula. That's my opinion. I'm not a biologist. I'm not an expert, but you asked me what my opinion is. That's my opinion. Rabbit Art says right back at you. Good evening, James. How are you? Stu says, all farmers I hunted crop permits for in the past were focused on deer management and all deer reported and processed. And like I said, Stu, I firmly believe that the vast majority of farmers who are using crop damage permits are doing things in a legal and moral and ethical manner. Mowing the lawn, Doug. Why don't you come over here? I got to mow mine, but I didn't get to it today. I'll have to do it tomorrow. Thank you, Rachel. But here's the deal. If we do something in person, there's got to be a tie-in for me. Like, I just can't go to a restaurant and have a Wednesday night live. There's got to be a tie-in. It's got to be a mutually beneficial thing. I don't want to bring 100 people into a business that I don't work with and have that business reap the benefits of, number one, the exposure they're going to get from the event, and number two, meals and drinks for 100 people. Avery has got to get something in return. I don't mean I have to be paid for it, but I have to have a relationship with a company to do something like that. Davina says, Andy at Seeney's Bar in Spring Break. Davina, I've told Johnny this many times. I'm afraid to go into Andy's. Not because it's a rough crowd, but because I'm not going to walk out of there. I'm going to come out horizontal. Tinker's Junction in Grayling. I told you my criteria. It's got to be somebody I'm working with or will work with. Because these Wednesday night live, be honest with you, a Wednesday night live in person, bringing in 100 people, is a pretty valuable thing. And it's not something that I'm just going to toss around to a company that I don't work with. Scott Hand says Rachel's buck was 2.5 years old, 10-point with fawn spots down its back. Hear about this from time to time. Prominent spots, too. Interesting. Badges. I don't know what the badges are, Matt. I don't think I see the badges, and I don't know what they are, Matt. So if you know what they are, Matt, tell me what they are. Art says, let's talk. We'll find a place. But it's got to be the right place. And Art, you know what I'm talking about. Micah, good evening. How are you? The numbers next to your profile pic is the number you are on Mike's favorite list. Cliff says, who's on the show this week? Avery, quit talking. Tell us who's on the show. Before I do that, and Cliff, remind me, I'll come back to it. Let's talk about the youth hunt once again. Big fan of the youth hunt. No tolerance for people who gripe about the youth hunt. We have numbers for the Liberty hunt and the youth hunt. And the Liberty hunt is hunters with physical difficulties, and the youth hunt obviously is kids 16 and under. And these are based on hunter-reported numbers for the mandatory harvest. In the 2-day youth hunt / Liberty hunt that was last weekend in Michigan, keep in mind, people say, oh, those hunts are going to decimate the whitetail population in Michigan. Throughout the 2 days, there were 5,300 deer killed. 5,300 deer killed in the 2 days. Of those, 4,000 were bucks. I do support the concept of a does-only youth hunt, where possible. 5,000 deer killed in the Liberty hunt / youth hunt last weekend. 4,000 of them were bucks. The number one county where deer were reported, Sanilac County. Number 2, Tuscola County. Number 3, Montcalm County, Scott Hand. And number 4, Saginaw County. I also found it interesting that on the opposite end of the spectrum, geographically and statistically and demographically, Wayne County had 1 animal reported, and Keweenaw County had 0. You can't change worlds much more than Wayne County to Keweenaw County. So I don't place any necessary... those numbers are just for your information. Good evening, Ray. Still celebrating his son's first buck. Excellent. Cellular trail cameras are everywhere. Deer, well, Lisa, this wouldn't apply to you. Well, it might. Anywhere you walk in the woods these days, you're going to have a trail camera on you. So before you stop and answer Mother Nature's call, look around and make sure you don't have a camera on you. Davina says last time she visited the weir, they said it was sold to the highest bidder, and it was the natives. Natives being the tribes. Kevin leaving for bear camp next week. Primal Outdoors is a great company. Jim, I don't know if you saw my live from Jay's last Friday with Bob Ransom, the guy behind Primal Tree Stands. I've been seeing lots of acorns on the ground too. John, we did not get a deer with my grandson. We did not see a deer, but that's okay. Part of the process is learning that you don't harvest every time you go out. So I was okay with that. Hocking Hills, Ohio. James is mowing his Friday, hunting after work tomorrow. Rachel says, I understand that for sure. I'll send you an email. My email address, Rachel, you probably already know this, but anybody who wants to reach me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I want to hear from you. Kurt, 20 years of applying for Drummond Island bear permit. Successful, taking his first bear on Thursday, 395-pound boar. Kurt, I don't believe I've seen that picture. Would you please send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Let me check something here real quick. I got to see where I'm keeping an eye on something, and way down there, huh? Okay. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Stu said everybody's selling bait for deer, and it's being put out, and the deer aren't looking except the other way. You know why, Stu? Because it's not illegal to sell deer bait. It's just illegal to hunt over it. Evening, Dave. How are you? I saw Sam. In fact, Dave, it was Sam, your son Sam, who replaced these cables and this string on my crossbow at Jay's on Friday. Yeah, maybe Cliff. Didn't see one. All right, I'll talk to you later. Mine must. No, you're my favorite. What does the flag mean? I don't know what you're looking at, folks. I don't see it, so I can't tell you. Somebody else help me out. Hey, Jason, how you doing, buddy? Tommy said it'd be interesting to see what the number was if it was does only. Stu says maybe we need an antlerless only hunt in many areas. For the youth hunt, you mean? Because this weekend, in Michigan is the early doe season. Send it to me, Micah. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I ran into him at Jay's on last Friday, Dave. Ed put a Primal 12-foot quad stand up Saturday. Oh, I got to get one of those. I keep forgetting about that. I got to get one of those, Ed. Thank you for the reminder. I got to get one of those. You call it the quad stand? Ed, quad stand? Primal quad stand. Okay. First turkey hunt. Fall turkey season opens Friday. I know. He told me that. Scott says he caught a guy who covered his entire property on a four-wheeler and a dog Sunday. Blew his mind when I showed him the pics sent to his phone in 5 places on his property after he said he wasn't there. Busted. Good evening, Brian. Good evening, Daryl. How are things up in White River? Hey, folks, if you are looking for a wolf hunt, now I know Daryl is pretty well booked for this fall season. But if you're looking for a wolf hunt with a very high success rate, Daryl Godden in White River, Ontario is a good guy to get in touch with. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the question of who's on the show this week. Deborah, you never did get back with me last week because I said send me an email because I feel like you're plugged in. Kurt Vanderwall may be trying to push for making doe permits free for future youth hunts. It's been a good bear season so far. Daryl is still going on down here now. I will. Micah said he sent me something in Messenger. Let me try to go there real quick. I'm not a huge fan of Facebook Messenger. I would much prefer if you have content to send me, please send it to me in an email, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Yeah, I don't see it. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, please. The best way to get things to me, if you don't mind. Good evening, Carl. How are you? All right, who's on the show this week? The Pheasant. Ken Dalton, the president of the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, talking about the Michigan pheasant hunting license and how those funds are used to buy birds for release. It's not like the old put and take. Then Kevin Pritchard of Jay's Sporting Goods talks about the need, the importance to get these crossbows checked. Joe, I'm going to lead into this right here, Joe. Second hour, Al Stewart talking about the role of hunting, talking a little bit about upland game bird hunting, talking about Hillsdale College and the Nimrod Education Center there. Then Justin Tomei, a lobbyist for MUCC. And then this week's Ask Avery question, okay? You'll remember this. If you were with me last week, the question came up. Where is the recreational passport required? Is it on all state lands? I thought it was just state parks and boat launches. Second part of the question, or a second question, can a licensed hunter shoot a feral cat or dog if you find him running wild in the woods? I had somebody from the DNR lined up to answer that question. When I called them, they were busy and couldn't take my call. I have somebody else lined up for next week, also from the DNR, to answer those questions. Where do you need a recreational passport, and can you shoot a feral cat or dog? So I didn't forget about it. It was on my list. I had it all set up. I had it all lined up and just couldn't. Thank you, Micah. You're welcome, Carl. How much longer will I have my Angler Quest in the water? That's a good question. Because honestly, realistically, I bet I don't use it again this year. That's a very good question. You're welcome, Joe. And then in the third hour, Tim Roller talks about coming up with the technique for casting crankbaits for giant king salmon and steelhead in the rivers. He's the guy who pioneered it. And man, is it effective. And of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Speaking of Dave, I have to make myself another... This week's show, I will tell you, the radio show, really was a struggle. Each show has its own personality. Some of them open their arms and they give you a big hug and they make it so easy. And some of them back you into a corner and they beat the crap out of you with bare knuckles. This week's show was one of them that did not cooperate. It was a struggle from the opening segment of the show right on through to the end. So this one was a struggle. With technical issues, I had a cough I couldn't get rid of that came out of nowhere. People not being there when we called them. So I would expect next week's show to be very, very smooth. RidgemontOutdoors.com for Parker parts. Jays will work on them if you order your own parts. Micah says, thinking waste disease. Okay, I bet you're going to send me a picture of a deer that you think has chronic wasting disease. Tip of the thumb. I pray that's not the case. Can you ask the DNR why there are bear licenses available to non-residents? Good question. How's Dave doing? Dave's doing good. He's going on a bear hunt Friday. He's going out with hounds. Scott Hayes says, December, Avery will be fishing giant walleyes on his angler quest. I guarantee you, Scott, my angler quest will be out of the water by December. Doug Ward, Captain Doug Ward. All right, there's an angler quest owner right there, Scott Hand. Here's another angler quest owner right here, Captain Doug Ward. Had a blast the last couple of weeks running salmon trips out of Ludington on the AQ. What a platform for clients' comfort. Here's the big question, my friends, and this is no secret. Angler Quest is no longer making, for 2024, that big, beautiful Pro Troll with the radar arch, the rocket launcher, we call it, that's become the signature trademark for Angler Quest. They're not going to make it anymore. They will make a family fish, which, if I am still working with Angler Quest next year, is probably the boat that I will run. And that's a very fishable boat. I could do that and enjoy a lot of good time on the water. Are you Triple H? I don't know what that means. Triple H. Am I hilarious? Yes. Am I handsome? Yes. What's the third H? Am I humility. Do I have humility? Yes, I am Triple H. I am hilarious, handsome, and I have humility. I am Triple H. Yep, I am. No doubt about it. Humble. That's the word I was looking for. Humility. Humble. Yes. Yes, that's it. I am Triple H. I am handsome. I am hilarious. And I am humble. I'm handy. Not a hippie. Humble. Radio handle. Sounds like a WWE Triple H. Yes, I am Triple H. I'm Mike Avery, also known as the big guy, also known as Triple H. Triple H stands for hilarious, handsome, and humble. Scott Brown says, counting down the days to bow season. Dave's got to go for dinner. All right. It is a WWE wrestler, huh? So somebody is saying that because I have a beard and a shaved head, I must be Triple H. Let me pull up Ed's profile picture here. Let me see what he looks like. Let's see, Edwin Robles. Let me find Edwin Robles on Facebook. EDWINROBLES. Let me find Edwin Robles. So Edwin, which one are you, Edwin? I can't tell. Oh, I can't say who you look like because I can't see your picture because I don't know if I got the right guy. Huh. Hey, Chad, it was nice to see you as well. We really didn't get a chance to talk. It was a busy day at the store. As you know, while I was there, I got my cables and strings replaced on this bow, which is a 10-point. Chad, I know that you rep Bear bows, which are wonderful products, and I suspect the same is true with Bear, that in the higher end bows, certainly, you want to make sure you get the strings and cables checked and replaced if necessary. Mine I had to replace after 5 months. Now, I shoot it more than most crossbow hunters probably do, and I'm going to have to shoot this one now again after things have been replaced to make sure that it's still dialed in. Ready to rock, that's for sure. Well, I just got to verify, Chad, but yeah, I am ready to rock. And, you know, the reason I had it checked was not so much because I noticed that it looked like the strings or cables were bad, but I was doing it just on the blanket recommendation of the guys at Jay said, hey, make sure you get them checked. So I was a little bit surprised when Sam Austin said, yeah, you need your cables and string replaced. Gene says he's glad to hear that there are people buying our Anglerquest pontoons. A lot of people are, Gene. We love them. We absolutely love them. My good friend Craig Plowman, who's on here right now, just bought a new Anglerquest today from Jim at Freeway Sports down in Genesee County. In fact, he bought a family fish. I hope to be running a family fish next year myself. If I had to give up an Anglerquest, I don't know what I would do. For one, I would be heartbroken. I wouldn't be doing I wouldn't be doing any charity fishing trips. Mike says he also learned about the newer crossbows when he took his up there too. Yeah. Ross, the family fish does not, well, there's a family fish RA that has the radar arch. The Pro family fish for 2024 does not have the radar arch. Anglerquest will not put a radar arch on any boat for next year. The family fish does not have the center console. It's got a side console, but it has a lot of fishing room in the back. It's a very, very fishable boat with some very comfortable lounges up front. It would be a very nice, very fishable boat. And I would welcome the opportunity to run one. We'll see if it happens. Gene says he was down at Freeway today installing a Hummingbird on an Anglerquest. Maybe that's the one that Craig bought. Craig says you can always come for a ride fishing trip on his AQ. I don't know what the future holds in store. We'll see. We'll see. Am I going back to Jay's soon? Nope. I got everything taken care of, Jay's, that I needed to. I bought that new tree stand. I got my bow tweaked. Chad says when he gets close to retirement, he'll definitely look at getting an AQ for sure and retire his Lund. Yeah. Ross said, by the way, his buddy is hunting with Johnny right now. Excellent. All right, as we wrap this up, let me make sure that I have everything on my list that I wanted to talk about. One final thing. If you are still looking for broadheads for the season coming up, I highly recommend Michigan-owned and Michigan-made Rec Broadheads, R-E-K. If you go to the website recbroadheads.com, and use the promo code Avery15, you can save 15% on your order. Roger says, my son Philip and I are going on that South Africa hunt that we bidded on at the Trinity Wild Game Dinner in March. Craig Plowman has been a great help. Craig is on with us tonight. Ross said, talking about the last Wild Game Dinner. John bought some broadheads. You as well, Daryl. Okay, let me, what do we do here now? Boom. This is the way we wrap up each week's, there we go. think that's been playing in the background the whole time. All right, my friends, have a good night. The website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, your thoughts, comments, criticism, your Ask Avery questions, and your pictures. Your deer pictures, your bear pictures, your squirrel pictures, your turkey pictures, your fishing pictures. And I'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.